Yo, what is good, YouTube? Welcome back to another JC2K video. In today's video, we're going to be talking about my NBA 2K24 wish list, the things that 2K should change in 2K24 to make 2K24 one of the best 2Ks we've ever seen. Believe it or not, I'm not as down on 2K as I think a lot of other people are. I don't think this year was their best. I think 2K21 and 2K22 were both better, and I think 2K20 during the pandemic was also incredibly fun, even if that game wasn't the best. I think they did a better job overall at making those games a little bit better than 2K23 was, but I don't think 2K23 was terrible. I'm higher on it than some people, and I am excited to see what comes in 2K24. These are just the things that are my opinion that they should change. Before we hop into the video, if you haven't already, make sure you hit that subscribe button. Help me push towards the 13,000 subscriber mark on the channel. I'm not uploading very often right now. That really will be the case until 2K24 comes out. Probably only one or two more videos until 24 comes out, but once 2K24 comes out, we'll be uploading a bunch of videos every single day. Super excited for that and continue growing. So appreciate all of y'all's support. And without further ado, let's hop right into it. The first thing I want to talk about, I think I'm going to start with mostly content stuff, and then I'll get to a few gameplay things at the end of the video. But first things first, I think rewards need to be auctionable. I'm not talking about the rewards that you get from completing clutch time or domination or triple threat or unlimited or clutch time online or any of those modes. Not saying those need to be auctionable. They never have been, and I don't think they should be. But I do think that the rewards you get from locker codes, from like these takeover events that they've been doing these last couple weeks, like this LeBron takeover, that's the event that's in the game right now, things like that, packs that you get from rewards all throughout this year. So many things have rewarded you with unauctionable players, and I feel like that's not something that I'm a big fan of. It takes away your ability to earn MT. It gives you players that really don't have a lot of value to your team, and I'm not a huge locker code guy. I haven't been a huge level guy or anything like that, but I have a lot of unauctionable players in my locker. As y'all can see, we got D'Angelo Russell right there. We got that Jalen Green right there, unauctionable Tracy McGrady, unauctionable Grant Hill, unauctionable Gerald Green. I can go on and on. There's tons of players. We got some all-time players that are unauctionable as well, like another Tracy McGrady there. I think I got some unauctionable playoff players. I do. I have Jared Allen. I have Cam Johnson. I know a lot of people have a lot more of those rewards than I do that are unauctionable. Just takes away people's ability to gain MT from getting unauctionable rewards, which I think is a shame. It's something that they haven't done in past 2Ks that they implemented this year, and I would love to see them remove for next year's 2K. So that's a big thing that I think they could do content-wise that would improve the game. My second thing, I think this is a crucial thing. Pacing has to be improved in 2K24. I actually think as a whole, 2K did a pretty decent job with pacing until we got to about May or June this year for the most part, but that is not entirely true. So season 2 in November, we get Tim Thomas, Pink Diamond. He was the start of the pacing being really bad this year. I thought they did a great job of it, in all honesty, until then. Even when we had quote-unquote tall point guards, it was guys like Magic Johnson, Penny Hardaway, legends of the game. Cade Cunningham was good, but he wasn't incredible. And while Magic and Penny were the best point guards in the game, I didn't have a huge problem with that at the time. Guys like D Rose, Russell Westbrook, Donovan Mitchell were very usable and very good early in the year. Ja Morant as well. I think they did a pretty good job of pacing across the board until this Tim Thomas card came out. He was incredibly OP, had the best SIGs or some of the best SIGs in the game, and was a 6'10" small forward, so had absolutely elite size, pretty much every single key badge at least on gold for the most part. He was incredibly complete, incredibly good, and way before his time, coming out in November. But not only that, he's a guy who's not an NBA legend. No offense to Tim Thomas, I'm actually a fan of his. I enjoyed Tim Thomas on the Suns when I was a little kid and watched his highlights and stuff, and think he was actually a guy who was very ahead of his time as a player by his play style. But by no means should he have been the best card in the game for a month. Should he have been one of the first absolutely incredible cards that we got this year? What I would love to see 2K do is give these types of SIGs and animations to other players, legends, smaller players. Give it to Kobe, give it to MJ, so we have elite level legendary shooting guards, even a James Harden, somebody like that at the shooting guard position. Give it to shorter guards, guys like Derrick Rose, and I don't know, whoever you want to say. Ja Morant is electric, but there's a lot of talented elite NBA legends who I feel like are never all that elite in my team. Those are the guys that should be getting the juiced SIGs and the juiced animations earlier in the year, and it should be smaller players as well, so that height isn't as big of a thing. And that leads to my next point, which continues to go with pacing. Height was ridiculous this year with the pacing. The Eclipse Yao that we got in January, this card was absolutely OP for a very long time. He was the best center in the game for months. Taco Fall, out of position, that we got in season 5 was ridiculously OP as well. This card was absurd. These were the best cards in the game for a very long time, incredibly overpowered. If you didn't have them, you were basically screwed. That's how good these cards were, and that is ridiculous. Not that Yao Ming's not a legend, because he is, but Taco Fall simply is not. He should not be getting an elite level card that early in the game, and also we should not be dropping 7'6" giants this early in the game. It should not happen. We should not be getting those guys in January, because it makes all other big men pretty much obsolete. Because to that point, it was guys like Pink Diamond Kareem who were amazing. Even a Pink Diamond David Robinson, even when we got to Dark Matter David Robinson in March, that was a decent logical progression. But Yao was the best center in the game for so long and so early. I just think pacing was done really poorly with some of the top cards this year, and that's something that I would love to see changed for next year. Now, next point I want to make: ranked and unranked unlimited. This isn't a huge thing. I just think we should have a ranked one with unlimited with a leaderboard, and the leaderboard needs to be done better, by the way. They added leaderboards this year, but they were done very, very poorly. It's basically almost exclusively based on how many games you played instead of your record, which I'm not a big fan of. I think that takes away the value of the unlimited leaderboard for sure. I think that needs to be done better for a ranked mode in the future, to factor in more your record and your skill level and your point differential and things like that, and the people you play, not just how many games you play. And then unranked unlimited is going to be more of a casual 5v5 online mode, which I think is good, so the casual players don't feel scared of playing unlimited, because they can go play a casual mode and just chill, versus all the sweats who are going to be playing in this ranked mode. Next point: 5v5 co-op. 3v3 co-op was a great addition this year. I know a lot of people don't play it, but a lot of people do. I had a lot of fun playing co-op this year. Didn't play an incredible amount of it, but when I did, I had a lot of fun with it. Definitely think it's got some of my better memories from 2K23 is from playing co-op, and I would love to see a 5v5 co-op mode. The ability to play team up in MyTEAM would be amazing. Team up's been super popular for years in the Pro-Am Play Now group, and it would give you the ability to play like a Pro-Am type of style of a game, 5v5 with a bunch of your friends from the community, or go into online and play against somebody else's 5 playing with your buddies. I think would be awesome to see in co-op. So that's something that I would love to see as a 5v5 co-op mode as well for next year. Next thing I got written down here is I think we need better non-RNG reward cards. Some of the reward cards we got this year from RNG were amazing. Guys like Rick Smits, Mike Bantam, Danny Ferry, etc. But we didn't see all that many elite non-RNG reward cards this year from different modes, which I think is a huge disappointment. There were a few exceptions, guys like Sean Livingston and Artist Gilmore from Unlimited, but were really good. But for the most part, the rewards that we got from most of these modes this year were never top 2 or 3 cards at their position. Even the level 40 cards that we got this year were not that great, with the exception of Scottie Pippen, and I guess this Embiid is good, but he's a little undersized, and a couple of other decent level 40s. I would say a lot of these level 40s we got this year were not good. Trae Young was awful. Zach LaVine was mediocre at best. I'm forgetting who a lot of the other ones were, because they just were not memorable. They did not motivate me to grind for them. They just were not very good cards, and I think that's a real shame to see level 40 really be such a mediocre concept this year. I think it really wasn't done that well, and I think these reward players in general were not done that well this year. For grinding these modes, especially the harder modes like Unlimited, these online modes, I feel like you should be rewarded with top tier cards, at least 1 or 2 each season, scattered across different modes, who are top tier reward cards just for grinding the game, that aren't reliant on RNG and getting lucky to get. Because if you have to get crazy lucky, sometimes that's going to mean hundreds of games played to get a guy like Billy Knight or Mike Bantam or Rick Smits or any of those guys, and at that point it almost doesn't even feel worth it. Next point I want to make, another thing that I think 2K did really good job of at times this year and at other times did a very poor job of, is daily content. I don't think it's that hard to do daily content of some sort. I know in Season 8 they've done these hollow players, which I don't love, but we are coming to the end of the game. But Season 7, I think they did an amazing job of this. I like the fact that they've done the all-time spotlights. I think that was an amazing concept for daily content. Now, a lot of those cards were not elite, but some of them were, and it's daily content. It allows people stuff to grind. It gives people like me content to upload, which is super valuable for a YouTuber. So I know I'm a little bit selfish in there, but it brings more life into the game. Adding daily content, the 2-week events this year were incredible in whatever season that was that Season 4 or Season 5? Those were amazing. Would love to see the return of that type of stuff. Daily content is huge for the success, I think, of MyTEAM and the intrigue in the mode in general, and it's something that 2K did a really poor job of at times this year. So that's something I would definitely like to see tuned up as well. A couple other content notes. Don't want to go on too long. This video is already getting kind of long, but I think Weekend League is something they could definitely add. I would love to see a Weekend League mode like Madden has done in the past. They didn't do a great job of it this year. Madden didn't, but Weekend League brings a lot of interest, a lot of competitive type of angle into the game. It brings a lot of fun into the game as well. Have really good rewards for it like Madden does and did. I think it's an amazing mode concept. It would be a ton of fun for people to sweat and play Weekend League each weekend, and I know I would personally love it, so I'd love to see that return. And then also pack odds. That's what the last point that I want to make about content. Pack odds this year were very poor. I know they did these guaranteed packs toward the end of the year, but number one, they're too expensive. $50 for one player is too expensive. Number two, they did it too late in the year. There should have been a thing all year with guaranteed packs for the option to pick these best players. I do think $50 is too expensive as well. I would lower it down to 25 or 30, maybe even 40, but I think 200 KVC is a little high. But even if they did 200 KVC, just having the option to guarantee yourself a player each week, I think would be a huge W versus buying a bunch of packs, wasting MT, or even worse, wasting money on packs that have terrible odds. And all year we saw odds were awful, especially to pull top end cards. They were almost impossible to pull. So if you were looking for the top cards, I mean, I very rarely pulled the top card in sets this year. It may have happened 3 or 4 times, and I opened a ton of packs. Almost every promo was opening 250,000 MT in packs this year, and only pulled a couple of top end cards this year, which I think is a real shame and something that 2K definitely needs to work on. So got a few points on gameplay as well that I do want to focus on. The first one is shot timings were terrible this year. Different shot timing changing online especially was horrific. There shouldn't be a different shot timing from where you catch the ball on the court, how contested you are. Honestly, I don't think you should have a different timing for how tired your player is. Load-ups were horrific this year, especially on delay with different shot timings. It was just impossible at times to shoot, and it basically guaranteed you a miss when you get your shot timing changing for no reason. I understand people say, especially for stamina, it makes sense, but it really doesn't, because in real life, players' shots don't change when they're tired. Their shots don't slow down. They may have a lower chance of making it because they're tired, and that's fine. If a player over dribbles, make the green window smaller, make it a tougher shot to green. That's fair. But making the shot timing change to where it's basically impossible to hit, especially when that shot timing change is often random, I think was a horrible addition this year. And that's something that I hope they would 100% walk back next year, because I think that was terrible. Another thing I think they should do, adjust or remove adrenaline bars. I don't know about removing them entirely, but I wouldn't totally hate it. I think they were a little bit too low, especially early in the year. Would like to see maybe 4 adrenaline bars, just one added, or at least they could even change it. I think handles for days is a tiny bit too important as well. Like, I understand it's an important badge, but I think when you have no handles for days, you shouldn't be completely gassed. When you do one dribble move and run into a player, you're all of a sudden can't do another dribble move with the player the rest of the possession. I think that's a little bit unrealistic as well. So I think things like that could certainly be tweaked in gameplay, and that would definitely help. Another thing, I think the biggest thing when it comes to gameplay, height is just significantly too important right now. We've seen the evolution of height matter more and more over these past few years. It started in 2K20, I feel like, but it has continued, and it really came to a head last year, and especially this year, where the only players you want to use are absolute giants. I think it's ridiculous. I think shorter players should be able to compete, make stats and badges matter more. Now, with that being said, when we get to endgame, I have no problem with height. It's earlier in the game where I have a problem with it. The example I'm going to use, say we have a pink diamond Draymond Green who's got 95 interior defense, Hoff anchor, elite defensive card going up against an amethyst Kristaps Porzingis who has like 80 strength, doesn't have great finishing badges or stats or anything like that. KP shouldn't be able to just catch the ball back down to Draymond and go up every single play and be able to finish it because there's no contest. In past 2Ks, I feel like this wasn't quite as big of an issue, especially like early game 2K21. Diamond Draymond was able to play center. He was 6'7". He was incredible. You could use him against the limited award Ralph Sampson, and he was a better option than that 7'4" Ralph Sampson card that we got. Like, that's just something that has not been true these last couple 2Ks, and I think it's ridiculous. They have to be able to tweak it to where stats and badges matter a little bit more, and height matters a little bit less. That's not to say that height should matter, because it does, and in real life, height does matter. But it matters too much right now in my team. It completely controls the meta, and it controls the meta starting too early in the game as well, and that's something that I think needs to be tweaked. And then the last thing that I just want to talk about, not a big thing, but for me, I think fades should be also nerfed. I think the normal fade, Trey fade, D-Book fade, all those fades this year, they're just a little bit too good. You don't see players running off screens and just falling away from the basket and greening every single shot, making every single shot in real life. It's just not a common occurrence, and fades have become so prevalent in my team, but not just in my team, across all modes. I think it's a little bit ridiculous. I think they should be greenable. I think they should be tougher to green. I think it should just be harder to shoot fades in general. They're too easy to hit hit right now, and I think it's very unrealistic and kind of takes away from the realism of this game in certain ways. Now, obviously, the game's not going to be perfectly realistic, nor should it be, but I think certain things like that should be tweaked as well to at least attempt to make the game a little bit more realistic. And fades, I think, are just way too OP right now. So that's something that I would definitely like to see tweaked in 24 as well. But with that being said, I've been rambling for almost 15 minutes, so I'm gonna let y'all go. If y'all watched this point of the video, I really do appreciate it. Hope y'all did enjoy. I'll be back with more 2K content very, very soon. Can't wait for 2K24, and I appreciate y'all. Peace.